Lack of preparedness was only part of the problem. The Air Force didn't have capabilities as well.
Each weapon delivery has an envelope, weapon delivery system. The bombs are not supposed to be released higher above a height of 20,000 feet. The average target height was, say, 7,000-8,000 feet above AGL, above ground level. There were hill features at 15,000 feet above that, and we had to avoid the shoulder-fired missiles, which went another 10,000 feet. So looking from top, our targets were about 4 to 5 kilometers down, vertically down. And the aircraft was not meant to fire, the weapons were not meant to fire. So we had to innovate.
This man and his team were at the forefront of innovation.
The pod that you see behind me hanging from the wings is one of them. It guided the bombs directly into Pakistani targets. There are several other innovations that the Indian Air Force did.
These are Israeli listening pods which help laser-guided bombs zero into their targets. But when the Kargil conflict broke out in 1999, India had only few such laser-guided bombs to be used in case of a full-scale war. But the Air Force is nothing if not innovative. It was time to unlock the creativity. It was left to Ravi and his men to marry normal bombs with the additional pods and transform them into precision-guided weapons.
We had just then acquired the lightning laser resignation pod, and it was just the new induction of these pods. These lightning pods were very useful to us in carrying out these type of precision, or what you call surgical strikes. And effectively this weapon, a 1,000-pounder with these kits, becomes what is called as a precision-guided munition.
For these pilots, it was like being back to basics.
We found out ways, we went back to our practice ranges, tried out and found our errors, made up for that errors. Even over there, whenever we did some firing, we used to film the firing and see the error. And next time when we used to go revisit the place, feed that error and aim at a place little different from that error. Mind you, the biggest thing which we had on our mind was our own troops for this side.
But the innovations didn't always deliver. At times they failed with disastrous results. And no one knows better than Flight Lieutenant Nachiketa, the first casualty of the Indian Air Force. He went down because the Air Force didn't factor in laws of basic physics. Nachiketa was taken hostage by Pakistani troops.
Any aircraft, when you fire, one of the problems that happens is that when you fire rockets, they have their own motors. The motors leave an exhaust. Now, if that exhaust is too strong and the aircraft is firing in rarefied atmosphere, then what you could have is that you could get an air intake choking. That means you don't get adequate airflow into the intake, and therefore you can get intake surge. It can lead to engine surge, and therefore you have a flame out. And in fact, therefore, firing rockets in salvo, in large salvos, from this is not advocated. We had to do it, but we didn't realize at that time that if this would happen, of course, it's all given in the books.
Picking up targets from as high as 15 to 20,000 feet and taking down Pakistani posts wasn't without a human cost.
This is the missing man formation. Look closely, there is an aircraft missing. A tribute today by air warriors to remember those who fell during the Kargil war. On May 27th, when Nachiketa went down, squadron leader Ajay Ahuja was flying his MiG-21 over the Yaldor sector to assess the damage that Nachiketa and other fighters had caused to the enemy.
That is the time the RT call came, and he was told to, he said, the leader of the MiG-27 mission, Mandkot, he said, my number 2 is ejected. Can somebody come and replace me in this place to direct the rescue effort? So he said, yeah, I have the coordinates, because that was the same target. So he went out there and he started orbiting with Reddy, who was number 2. And during the operation, he located the wreckage. He started speaking to a helicopter.
Unfortunately for Ahuja, the helicopter he thought he was directing to rescue Nachiketa did not turn up. It now emerges that the helicopter Ahuja was directing was an army helicopter, which wasn't on a rescue mission. As Ahuja kept circling, waiting for help, he proved to be an easy target. A Pakistani Stinger missile found him.
See, I was sure he'll come back. I'll be very frank with you. Two reasons for that. One is he had already ejected in a MiG-23BN over range. And he had done 2 tenures in Siachen as a forward air controller. So I said he will come back because he will eject and he will survive. He knows how to operate in that area and he will come back. And what I did not factor that if he, they'll kill him. I mean, that is one part of Geneva Convention that you don't expect the other side to violate.
There was more bad news. The very next day, the Indian Air Force was to suffer another blow. This time, a Mi-17 helicopter.
As soon as I struck 5140, we turned. Thereafter, number 2 hit. Number 3 also struck the salvos of 128 rockets. But very unfortunate that Pundir and Muhilan, their aircraft, after it struck and it turned, that's the time they got engaged by the Stinger missile.
It now emerges that Squadron Leader Pundir and Flight Lieutenant Muhilan didn't even have basic protection, yet they were sent in.
Now here when this helicopter also went, there were 4 helicopters. Some or the other, they didn't have the infrared flares for the 4th aircraft. They had no business to send that aircraft.
It was the 28th of May. Squadron Leader Ahuja, Squadron Leader Pundir, Flight Lieutenant Muhilan, Sergeant Prasad and Sergeant Sahu had been shot down. Helicopter operations came to a standstill. The fighters continued to pound the hills. But Pakistan faced another threat, that from the sea. Navies across the world are known to be silent forces, perhaps because they operate beyond the horizon, calmly navigating choppy waters. But a week after the Indian Army launched its operation in Kargil, the men in white sprung into action too. The Indian Navy's fleet was pressed into action. The effect was perhaps not felt immediately in Kargil, but the ripples were soon to reach American shores.
The Navy's role during Kargil is very little known. We deployed for several reasons. We deployed with the intention to firstly seize the initiative at sea. When you seize the initiative at sea, you ensure that you are master of that area. It also sends a very important message because, as you know, in the case of Pakistan, their entire lifeline runs at sea. Their entire oil comes from seaward. And when you threaten that, you have actually threatened to sever that lifeline.
May 25th, the Western Naval Fleet with over 20 ships was deployed in the Arabian Sea. May 27th, a guided missile destroyer was deployed off Saurashtra coast. By end May, the Indian Navy carried out the most definitive and threatening maneuver. The Eastern Naval Fleet moved into the Arabian Sea in full media glare. Within days, fearing a full-scale attack, Pakistan moved its ships away from Karachi. And the Indian Navy started a combat exercise in the Arabian Sea. The amphibious brigade, capable of striking from sea to land, moved from Port Blair to the western coast, and the details were released to the media. But that's not all. The Navy also deployed ships in the Gulf of Aden, through which most of global oil passes, forcing Pakistan to escort all its tankers. It was mid-July 1999. Pakistan faced relentless ground and air attacks and was encircled at sea. The United States, which so far had been ambivalent, was forced to react. Its then President, Bill Clinton, was later to record this in his memoir, My Life.